Welcome everyone for the Sunline webinar. Thanks for joining. And I want to thank GMIS Illinois for promoting the event with GMIS Illinois members. And we are a corporate member. And we're all in this post-COVID world. And we were thinking about how about connecting with our members and talk about three strategic IT initiatives. And Raj and I, we were discussing about what is the post-COVID reality. There is always pressure, right, to get all the services online. Um, if you go back, Feb 2020, everybody, they were working from the office and they were getting services. There were shared services. Things were smooth. Suddenly, come March, everyone is going remote and they are expecting business as usual. I don't want any change. I want to get to all the applications, whether it is ERP application or my billing. I want everything to work the way it was before. And that's where there is anger, stress, and all the other difficulties. What is post-COVID reality from your finance standpoint, your operations standpoint? So you have 18% budget cut across the board. There is a hiring freeze, and IT leaders are dealing with all the challenges. I would say the only positive is some kind of CARES Act funding, like that's given to some of the agencies. Now, always, we think about IT department. Hey, how do we handle this, right? There are three things that we see. One, we need to manage expectations from agency administration. It could be the county administration or the city administration. And what they are expecting from IT is availability, security, and from citizens, they want all the online services to be available. And agency staff, your departments, other departments, they want you to provide work from home without any problems, whether it is you physically hand over laptops to them and also handle all their incidents quickly. It's almost like, whenever there is any first call from them, you want to solve it. Now, as we looked at it, we said these three strategic initiatives are the opportunities based on the demands. And we are going to get into specifics and why we think it's beneficial for you to consider these three initiatives. So the first one is agency service mapping. The second one is VDI. And the third one is your FOIA search. Let's get started with the initiative one. ITSM best practice agency service mapping. Now, we are all very familiar with ITSM. We have worked on the discovery of all our computers, our network information, everything, and built the CMDB. And we have implemented incident management, problem management. But there is one piece that's missing in majority of the agencies. What is that? That is the mapping of your critical services. Maybe this would give you an idea where you have a specific service that you offer, whether to your constituents or to your internal employees, the mapping of this service with your critical assets. It could be a database server, it could be an application server, or a backup failover system. Now, when that mapping is missing, you have a lot of challenges. What is the challenge? Recently, there was one county government they implemented this Tyler Munis and Paymentus, and it was the 20th. If and you will know, right? If 20th is the last day for bill payments, 80% of people wants to pay exactly on 20th. They don't want to pay earlier. Now, on that day, the online payment service went down. Now, as usual, IT called Tyler Munis. They also called Paymentus, and both of them said, "Oh, everything is working fine from our side." The problem was there was one Java application that was built for transferring the data from Tyler Munis to Paymentus. That Java application had an issue because they lacked the service mapping. They were not able to identify that problem for almost 5 hours, which means that dissatisfaction for the customers, and the IT department was taken to task. And how do you handle this agency service mapping? These 5 steps will give you a good idea about approaching this. The first one, majority of you will have this. You are able to discover your enterprise systems. You may have some kind of CMDB in your environment, at least an Excel sheet based on what we have seen with agencies, right? Your systems, information about your hardware, your users, applications, your software licenses. Then what we need to do is create a mapping for say 911, 811 EMS on the one side. Another side would be all your specifics. This way, whenever there is a problem, there is an emergency, you will be able to, one, escalate that and allow your constituents to at least know that, hey, somebody is working on it, and your administration is able to respond. And by the way, we did a survey, and it said that it takes 45 minutes on an average to know about user impact when a service is down. So this is something, as an initiative, we strongly recommend you to consider. And Raj, you wanted to talk a little bit about this agency service mapping benefits. You can take control.
Definitely. I think one of the things which we have seen on along is in the maturity path of IT, a lot of organizations, as Suri mentioned, we have some kind of database which list all our servers or databases, all the IT assets in general. And we know what the applications are. We have, like, let's say, 25 applications which runs the agencies. Now, the challenge is whenever there is a failure or an issue with our infrastructure, which can be a database issue or a server issue, it usually comes the other way, right? When the end user or somebody is trying to access the application calls the IT and says, I'm not able to access. So that's something which is something we need to avoid, right? We want to be in the front of it, telling the user that this particular application is down and we are trying to solve the problem, right? So even to identify the problem, we need to connect the dots, our application on one side and IT assets on the other side. So when there is a mapping between these two, when a component in IT fails, it's easier to identify what is the impact to the agency. Now, who's going to be logging in tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock and have difficulties if something goes down early in the morning, right? So this definitely is a tool which would give the immense power for the IT organization to stay ahead, to identify, be even predictive for that matter. Now, which are the components which are connected to applications which need to be maintained healthy, which need to be patched, which need to be secured, and that gives the ability to stand in front, to foresee issues, or even if the issues happened, to clearly indicate our user base that the downtime is going to be so much, and we'll be recovering the system in such a fashion. And this definitely, as Suri mentioned, is going to be enabling the agencies to stay in front of the support, and especially the end user satisfaction.
Great. I'm going to move to the second initiative. Raj, you can continue, please.
Definitely. I think the second area which we have, as Suri mentioned, the whole way in which we all operate has changed in this past 8 months. Starting from our kids going to school and accessing the library, or it can be our own staff, how they work and what access they need to have to do their work effectively has changed. And the paradigm is very new to all of us. I think in the short period of time, a lot of agencies have been struggling to put procedures in place, whether it's right or wrong, to make sure that their staff is able to access the system and do their job, right? Which can be like a lot of the staff are coming to work to do this, and some in situations where the agencies are able to implement remote working through VPN, which may not be the desired method with security concerns, right? I mean, as you could see in the news every day, like how the cyber attacks are on the increase during this period of COVID, right? So that being said, it is the responsibility of the agencies to make sure their network is protected, the data is protected, their systems are protected, and the valuable information of the citizens are protected because we hold that. So now we are going to look at VDI as a solution. Virtual desktops has been there as technology for over 7 years. But the difference is, I think there are a lot of agencies who had been familiar with this technology who went and tried it 7 years back. But during the time, it was expensive, and this technology was provisioned by bigger organizations like VMware and Citrix. So the product itself was so expensive, it's much expensive than provisioning laptops and desktops. So right at the beginning, it wasn't affordable for government agencies to go forward with that. Now, in 2020, we are seeing that there are a lot of players in this particular product market where they're able to provision VDI as technology and make it affordable for even the smallest of the agencies. Now, as a concept, what is VDI? We have desktops and laptops running at our desk or at our home, processing information, connecting to our network, and running the application, getting the data, and doing it. So instead of that, we are in fact going back to the olden days of the mainframe, where everything happens in the data center. And what we use as laptops and desktops are just terminals, right? So I think we are going back to the older technology. It goes at the concept, right? Everything runs centrally in the data center because everything is secured. Nothing is going to get lost. And whatever we are using as an endpoint, whether it's going to be mobile phones or thin clients or our iPads or laptops, they act only as a terminal, as a connecting media, right? So if you, during your override, if you miss your laptop, there is no valuable information in the laptop, which is getting lost, right? So that is a very high level view of what is VDI. It's virtualizing the desktops and laptops. As you could see, there are a lot of advantages in the current scenario deploying VDI, which is virtual desktops. The agencies will be able to see up to about 40% or more reduction in the initial investment and what they have to spend ongoing in maintaining these devices. So when our organization approaches an agency who are interested, first we scope out the requirement, where all the users are distributed, and if it'll fit their needs to remotely work, or even if they're going to be working from office, how easy is it going to be? Are the locations very remote where they have very minimal internet connections and things like that? So that review is done and scoping is done for the candidates and what type of VDI we should provide. Second, of course, we will be getting, we'll be working closely with the agencies to look at the budgeting aspects and how effective it is to deploy VDI and how much savings they can possibly make with this technology, where the cost could be distributed for the other more needed resources. Then comes the education and training. Obviously, like when there is a shift in technology, one thing which agencies have to be really paying attention is the end user experience. To have a proper end user experience, what it means to change the technology for the user, right? When you move from a laptop scenario to VDI, right? A user who's working from home has a problem with this keyboard, right? In current situation, they have to bring the laptop back to the data center and get it fixed and go back. Now, in terms of VDI, they have the ability to make use of their home computer to connect, right? So that's a change in the way the users would handle the new technology. So education and training is very important, which also will get a chance to explain them the advantages of VDI versus the traditional desktops and laptops. The next phase would be to implement VDI, which is a very straightforward and easy process. The technology has evolved so much. Unlike 4 years back, organizations used to have a 5-member team to maintain this VDI environment. Now, currently, a server engineer who's currently maintaining the laptops and desktop themselves will be able to maintain this VDI environment. So that is something which we'll be going through and hand-holding the agencies to pick the right product for VDI, which will fit their needs, right endpoints, and help them through the implementation. And the final thing is, after the implementation, how to monitor this environment, how to maintain it. So as we could see, patching and keeping this environment secured is going to be much more cost-effective in the virtual side, VDI, compared to how we are currently doing using desktops and laptops. So I think that gives a complete rundown of the cycle. And when you're going to look at some of the benefits, which I've already mentioned, the minimum cost savings, even to start with, right, it is 35%. And going forward, in terms of there are quantifiable savings, like on the endpoint devices, like example, like every laptop and desktop has an average life of 3 to 5 years. Now, this gets completely changed when you go for virtual desktops, right? When you go for endpoints, their life is about 7 years. So the cycle period, we need to budget every 5 years to replace our desktops and laptops. That completely changes. Now, when we moved from Windows 7 to 10, it is such a big deal because user experience and getting all those laptops and desktops changed was a big deal. When it comes to virtual environment, this kind of migrations is going to be much easier and less costly. And patching and keeping those virtual desktops is going to be much, much, much easier than doing it the traditional way of maintaining laptops and desktops. Security, as I mentioned, whatever endpoints we are using to connect to our desktops, virtual desktops, is immaterial. If you're having a tablet in your house and you want to use that as your endpoint to connect to your work computer securely, that could be possible. If you want to use your home computer, that's possible. If you're stepping to your library and a manager wants to do an approval or wants to check in the system, they can use the library computer to do this access. So it is going to be so versatile. And if a device endpoint is lost, there is no data lost because data and everything is sitting right in the data center and not on your laptops. So that way, it's going to be much more secured. Now, the end user experience, as I mentioned, the flexibility of using any endpoint as your computer, that itself is giving a big flexibility for the end users. The level 1 support. Now, I'll give you a simple example. If an agency has, let's say, 200 users who are using it through desktops and laptops, for the IT staff to respond, like there'll be at least like even in the very first week after the agency switch over to VDI, they'll be seeing about 35 to 40% of less tickets which are coming to their queue from the end users reporting on keyboards or mouse or things going wrong with their applications. Yeah, because it's like if they have 200 devices, 200 ways can go wrong. But in VDI, it's standardized, right? So if the problem is fixed in one gold copy, it gets fixed for all the 200 users. So that will be something which agencies will start realizing the advantages right from day one. Eliminating the support for user workstations, right? In general, $26 is the market standard to maintain a laptop or desktop. This can be, a lot of it can be hidden cost, right? So let's say 2 years back, we bought a laptop with 8 gig of RAM. Now, as the upgrade is happening, the first year, the second year, on the third year, the applications are running so slow. If they want to increase the memory from 8 gig to 16 gig, every workstation needs at least $140 for somebody to open it up, replace the memory, and close it down, right? So on the average, it is a market standard. Like organizations, agencies spend about $26 in maintaining every single endpoint. So that is going to be a major difference where the cost savings will be realized by the agencies. Right? So, and the third and the last one, to last but not the least, it's reduced spending on the maintenance software. There are so many software which have been used currently for maintaining and patching those desktops and laptops. Those expenses would be reduced since it's all virtual and it's sitting in the data center.
That's a good point, Raj. It's not just like the licenses for the patching applications, but also the time. And a lot of times something will go wrong. Patch Tuesday, right? Most of the times there are a lot of problems after the patch Tuesday. That can be solved. Also, the recoverability from a challenge. They say that it takes 40 minutes for a call center person to recover from an issue, and that will go down with VDI to less than 5 minutes. So this is
That's a great example, Surya. Like I think in a call center, there are, let's say, 10 call center person taking all the calls. And if there is a power down, most of the desktops in any of the agencies does not get covered by the UPS. UPS battery backups cover only the server side of it. Not every desktop in a call center is not covered. So when a power goes down in the middle of the call doing the data entry, the time the average take to recover is 35 minutes. So in terms of remote desktop, VDI, the person, as soon as the power comes back in, let's say, 5 minutes, they log in, they can continue where they left because their desktop is actually running in the data center versus their laptop or desktop. That's a great example, Suri.
Oh, by the way, there are some key things. We are going to have a 15-minute question answer session where we'll answer the questions. And during that time, the raffle prize will be announced. Also, please type in your questions in the chat button, and feel free to ask any questions, and we'll be there to respond. Sorry, Raj, please continue.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Excellent. So let's jump into the third strategic initiative. This is search. Data is exploding like crazy. Now, within, we are seeing outside in the outside world, in the public domain, we see like videos and WhatsApp and YouTubes and all the good stuff. At the same time, inside your organization, I know many of you here have been working in agencies for the past, say, 20 years. 20 years back, imagine like the kind of data store that you had and compare that with what you have today. Your iPhone contains more information than what you had in a desktop, like say 20 years back or even 10 years back. With that, what is the challenge? The challenge for agencies, of course, we have the Open Records Act. We all need to deal with FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. And we thought, hey, how do we present this to an agency scenario or to a local government? We took the case study of FTC. We went through the report that's publicly available. FTC has responded to 1,459 FOIA requests in 2018 with 12 resources, and the total spend from FTC was $861,000 to respond to that. You know how much they charged? They charged only 11 grand. Now, the beauty is not this. The beauty is about the time it takes, even for expedited FOIA requests. On an average, it took them 2 months. Now, we ran a cost. Then our team challenged us to see, hey, what it takes to process one FOIA request. It takes $590 for FTC and 3 full days to process one FOIA request. And interestingly, when we ran through the report, we saw that details of 10% of records could not be found. And it is about FTC. It's about like they are not able to find the data that's sitting there in their environment because of the lack of search tools in their environment. At this time, I want to pause and ask you a question. what's your year-to-date spend for open records request? I know all of you have to handle some kind of FOIA or open records request. What is your spend? Now, with that, let's look at one of our search solutions. This search solution is LGA search. And some of you asked me if we will be able to show a quick demo. I'll show that. But more than that, I want to first talk about what is FOIA and how we can help. Is we have a search solution where you could search against disparate data sources. It could be a database, it could be your emails, it could be social media, can be your internal websites, let's say SharePoint, or you may search against the OneDrive, the Google Drive, right? And you type it in as if you are typing it in a search engine. Let's say Google, you go and search something, automatically information from various data source come up, and you can choose that and open it up. And from a user experience standpoint, it would be so easy for them. Now, if you go back to this, of course, you need to tabulate your numbers. Your agency may be better than what FTC did in 2018, but still, your internal personnel can be able to, like, they can search faster. And whenever you are able to do anything faster and quicker, you are going to save cost. With that, I want to show you the approach. Again, go back to the 5 steps. First step, how do we even, like, hey Siri, how do we even start? We don't have anything. Then you can start. First, identify sources that needs to be searched. Sometimes it is just FOIA, sometimes it is internal audits, sometimes it is interdepartmental information sharing, where you need to identify the sources that needs to be looked at. It could be your Tyler Munis ERP or some other ERP, your messaging, your document folders, your contracts, and ingestion index. Recently, it's very interesting. Recently, there was one agency, like, we are helping them to handle their ballots, their postal mails, right? It's coming in, gets scanned, and it needs to be searched upon for signature, so that they could compare that with driver's license signature, and they could tally it and make sure that particular ballot is valid. So there are like several things where you have to search against contracts or search against documents. So once you identify the sources, then you ingest and apply AL machine learning methods and classify them, and then use BI tools to visualize. So then you do the tagging, prioritizing. Example, some of the records may be very important, some of them may not be, so you'll be able to tag. And for example, you can also tag the record to the corresponding FOIA request that originally came. So you can tag them, and then that way it's easier for you to report it back to the requester. And you are able to do the collation, and you are able to share the information with the teams. Now, these are some of the benefits of our search solution. And what are the benefits? You'll be able to collect all your data into a store. Let me quickly pull up the search so that I'll be able to show you. This is the LGA search solution. So Raj, you're able to see the screen, right? Awesome. So as you could see, you could search, say, Cobb County, and you can speak to it. When you're searching, automatically information is filtered and it's available for you. And the good thing is, when you click on something, you are able to go to that link and open it. You are also able to see all the documents. For example, it could be a PDF document. Sometimes some of these contracts can run into so many pages. We are talking about like hundreds of pages. And in this case, it says, oh, I found 87 occurrences. So what it is doing, it is searching the text across your contracts. Imagine how many times when you're searching within your agency for something where you need to find information about a vendor, about a specific bill pay, or about a constituent, or about a jail inmate. Incidentally, we worked with a county where they wanted to build inmate 360 program. They had 400 odd jail inmates in their county, and they wanted to find out the areas where those jail inmates will go after they are released. So for that, their information was kept in 8 different repositories. So we brought all of them into the LGA search solution where you could search against, let's say, John Smith. Automatically, it will go and search John Smith in all these repositories and bring that information back. It made their life so easy because before that, they had to go to every single system and log in to search this information. So in this example, you could literally go and find out, okay, which page the particular uh, information is there. So recently, we also added social media, which means some agencies, they have customer outreach programs. So they post methods, particularly like COVID scenario, right? They are saying, oh, this is what we are doing for school programs. This is what we are doing for meals. And they want to figure out how those information is appreciated by their constituents. So this is a good example where, somebody posted about the CARES Act. This is CARB. Now, if you look at, we can capture information, and if you click on view post, it opens up that information and shows you that corresponding information. So it's kind of tightly integrated with the Facebook, with the Twitter. So this particular search solution can be applied to address your FOIA needs, to address your open records, and also internal search information. And you can also benefit from quicker reporting. And going back to the FTC story, it will be faster and you don't have to spend this much money. So these are the three strategic initiatives. And as I promised, we'll switch on to question and answers. Uh, and we'll also, like, you can unmute yourself and ask any questions. Thanks for joining. So can we also check any questions, specific questions that we have that may be of there was one question that came to me. So they ask about, hey, can it be, how secure is the search solution? Thanks for that question. So the security is, we implement this search solution behind the firewall. When I say behind the firewall, the the whole package is in a Docker format. So we could deploy the Docker solution behind your firewall, and we can connect to your internal data sources. So if you're a city or an agency or a local government where you say, hey, you know what, we cannot share this information in the public cloud, we could implement it behind the firewall, and we can remotely set it up and monitor. So it's easy from that standpoint. Uh, Let me look at, oh, Raj, there is a question about VDI. The question is, how easy is the VDI implementation?
Okay,
Let me
so
switch
I
to
think
the VDI slide.
yeah, as I mentioned, the products which are out in the market now are much more streamlined for implementing with smaller agencies, right? So We have a case where a city government is implementing VDI, and they currently have a desktop engineer who's working on provisioning laptops and desktops. And that is the resource who's going to be implementing and maintaining the VDI environment. So typically to have a proof of concept or a prototype region, let's say created for 10 users, it would be a half a day effort to create the environment. And it could be given out for testing. So it's as short as that.
Very good. And Raj, we want to also emphasize that we are vendor agnostic.
Absolutely. So depending on the needs of the agency, whether they need a persistent laptop or desktop or non-persistent desktop, and if they're already a VMware or a Citrix shop, they want to stick to that particular technology, that's also possible. So we'll be working closely with the agencies to make sure that the right solutions are reached.
Oh, thanks, Raj. Oh, there is one more question which I'll address. It's about the ITSM. Oh, we don't have any ITSM solution. We are a very small city. How can we implement agency service mapping? Okay, all right. Here is the answer. You are not alone. There are several small agencies and they don't have a fully functional ITSM solution, whether it is on the CMDB side, on the inventory side, or on the incident management side. Because I know you also have the emails through which you respond to incidents and you don't have an incident management system. I would say that what we will do, we'll work with you to help you implement a simple open source solution where there are no big upfront costs, and then we can help you with the service mapping where you can map the online services with your backend systems. Because most of the organizations, what we have seen, generally you have the 811, you have the call before you dig, and then you have the 911, which is very important, and you also have the ERP solutions, basic billing, and online payment services. So we can categorize and then help you with it. So there is one more question. James, does it integrate with Google Workspace? Yes. Okay. Thanks, James, for that question. So that is on the search side. Again, I'm sorry, like we are jumping in between because the questions are all around. But the thing is, the search can definitely connect to different data stores, correct? So out of the box integration for Google, OneDrive, some of the basic cloud storage out of the box integration, even Salesforce, and any product that has an API, we can integrate to that solution. So James, to answer your question, yes, we'll be able to integrate with your data store. And Raj, the next question, maybe you can probably handle that. They are asking about costs. Raj, I know that you have an Excel sheet. I don't know if you are able to share that. It's about like, the question goes like this. We have tried VDI and it was very expensive. How do you say it's cheaper? They are questioning our.
Definitely. Sorry, if you can
Yes.
bring up the attachment I sent you, we can.
No, you can share the screen. I can stop share whenever you're ready. Let me know, because I know like you have that. Oh.
Yeah, because I don't want to mess up the recording.
Okay, got it. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me see.
So definitely, I think while
yeah, you can talk. Let me open up that. That's a very good question.
So Implementations we have done years back, let's say 4 years back with VMware Technologies, which is called as Horizon View, or Citrix, which is called as Zen Desktop. The average cost has been over $70, and it needed a big team to even install and maintain that environment. Now, the current products which we are working on, there are smaller vendors who are making it much more affordable. I could say there is a license cost involved, just like any other VDI products, per user per month kind of pricing. And that can average from, let's say, depending on the product, from like anywhere between $15 to $20 a month per user, right? So here is a spreadsheet which gives a difference for a small agency who wants to implement 17 users, right? So you could see the price difference if they are budgeted for, let's say, $750 per desktop and $1,100 for laptop. The initial cost is going to be $16,000, right? And in order to roll them out, have it formatted, install all the applications, and get through, it's like, and the average cost of maintaining, patching, and things like that is going to be, let's say, $4,250. So that's the initial cost, and the yearly cost is something which you can see. And in terms of VDI, you could see how the CapEx and OpEx drastically comes down. From 16,000 for 17 users, it's coming down to $6,800. And the operational expense is going to be fairly the same. And ongoing cost, as I mentioned, the shelf life of a desktop or laptop, let's say 5 years. With VDI, we won't be replacing anything for about 7 years. So that is a very conservative estimate. It can go beyond that as well. So then you're going to look at how the spread is, yearly savings. You can see the real difference there. At the end of fifth year, end of fourth year, we are looking at 33,000 versus 23,000, even for a smaller footprint of 17 users. So as the number of users increases, this will be exponentially more savings for the agency. Now, Suri, if you can bring the screen down a little bit, I think the
Sure.
graphical representation explains how the difference is, right? And when you're going to look at the VDI implementation in orange. And the cumulative numbers is something which is also mentioned in the spreadsheet. And we can share this information.
We will definitely share this information. A couple of things that I want to point out. These are all conservative estimates, right? Here we are looking at, in some organizations, they spend much more than $26 per month per system projection that we used. In some cases, let's say if the user is down for say 4 hours, and if you say your average support cost is say $75 per hour, for that particular user, for that particular incident, the agency has spent already $300. In a lot of cases, the outsourcing, because of outsourcing, the MSP, the managed services provider, charges on an average $52 per desktop that's supported. So it's kind of like sometimes scary in terms of like, how much money that's spent, and more because it's budgeted and it's been there for a few years and nobody even like worries about it. But definitely there is an opportunity to consider VDI, particularly in the post-COVID scenario, because the thing is, people are remote and they want to log in and they want to use their devices. Sometimes what happens, if there is a problem in the VPN software, see, most of the times, we have this Cisco VPN software and there is an update that happens, and sometimes you use tools like Duo Mobile and all, which is very good, like multi-factor authentication, where it sends a OTP code every time they log in, which is good. But the challenge is, if there in one of the case, like, I think it was Hall, like they had a challenge where the user's mobile phone broke. Now that person had to log in, and the only way they could log in is by receiving the OTP code on their phone. And this person says, oh, my phone broke. Then there is no way till he found an alternate phone, that person could not connect. And that's a big problem, where productivity loss happens because of the third-party tools that you have used. So let's take the same scenario where the person could not log in. You adapt to this VDA situation. A person could have gone into any device, go to a browser, right? You could connect from anywhere, any device, go to a browser, connect, and you'll be assigned a particular VDI, and then boom, connect and access all your resources. So from that standpoint, it's always easy. Let's look at the questions. Raj, you want to add anything on this? I know you are a specialist in VDI.
No, I think that sums it up. Yeah, definitely.
Very good, very good. And
the question answered. Was the question answered, Suri? Did you check with the person who asked? Did we answer the question?
yeah, yes, Ashok, yes,
Sure.
the question is answered. So the next point that I want to say is, as a summary, we want to go back. These three strategic initiatives are opportunities. Agency service mapping, where you map your ITSM with your critical services. The second one is the VDI, where you can possibly consider moving some of your users to virtual systems. If you have, you may have given them like a laptop or a desktop for them to take it to their home. You can consider replacing those systems with VDI. The third one is explore enterprise search as an option to capture, collate, index your enterprise data so that you can search it faster for internal projects, as well as respond to FOIA requests and save budget dollars. Raj, do you have any parting thoughts before we jump into raffle?
Definitely, I think Suri was able to summarize. These are I could say, the three strong pillars of an IT agency department. So for them to effectively maintain and sustainably grow their end user satisfaction.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, everyone. And we have a raffle winner, and that is Dennis Stefan. Dennis, congratulations for winning the raffle, and you will receive an Amazon gift card to your email. And thanks everyone for joining today's webinar. We appreciate it and hope we answered your questions. And we will see you again another webinar soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.